We have one agenda today. It's the 9:30 agenda. Let's see, in the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end the hearing due to major technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business on Thursday, the 31st at 9:25 a.m. in this room, O16, and on video conference, and a public notice will be posted. For those of you testifying remotely, you'll be muted and audio disabled until it's your turn to testify. And we do have a 2-minute time limit on testimony. However, in many instances, members will have questions. So if you can hang around, that would be great. If there is a temporary technical glitch when you're testifying remotely, we may have to move on to the next person. We'll try to come back to you if we can resolve it quickly, but we do have your written testimony. And I think that's it for the preliminaries. So first up today is Governor's Message 596. This is submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Attorney General of the Department of the Attorney General, gubernatorial nominee Valerie Cotto, for term to expire at noon, very specific, at noon on December 5, 2022. First up on GM 596, we have Keith Hayashi for the Department of Education, and you're here. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello, Chair Rhodes, members of the committee. Superintendent Keith Hayashi testifying on behalf of the Hawaii State Department of Education. The department stands on its written testimony in support of this measure. The department stands ready to answer any questions the committee might have. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Next up is Director Butai, Department of Transportation. I'm just going to zoom in, I think. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Rhodes, Vice Chair Keo Kalole, and honorable members of the Judiciary Committee. Jake Butai for the Department of Transportation. On behalf of DOT and especially on my own behalf, we stand on our testimony in strong support. She knows the Department of Attorney General backward and forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Director Riker Watta from the Department of Human Resources Development. Good morning.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Riker Watta for the Department of Human Resources Development. You have our testimony in hand, but I did want to personally appear and again testify in strong support of Ms. Shikata. I've been lucky enough to work with her prior to my current position, and she's a fantastic candidate, and I can only give her my strongest support. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Next is Suzanne Case for the Chair of the Department of Land and Natural Resources.
No, President Chair.
Okay, thank you. Strong support from the Department of Land and Natural Resources. Phyllis Humabukuro Geyser from the Department of Agriculture.
I can sign up remote here.
Yeah, come on up.
I'll just stand up. Strongly supporting the candidate, and I'd like to say that, you know, we as Department of Agriculture.
If you're going to say something, if you're going to talk, go ahead and talk into the mic so everybody can hear you. Thanks.
Phyllis Shimabukuro Geyser, Chairperson, Department of Agriculture. We stand on our written testimony in very strong support of the Department of Agriculture, respects her leadership, appreciates her assistance and her support of local agriculture in our state. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next is Department of Human Services.
Morning,
Good
Chair,
morning.
Vice Chair, members of the committee, Kathy Betts on behalf of the Department of Human Services. I'll stand on our written testimony in strong support of Ms. Shikata. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Catherine Awakuni Cologne, Director, Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs.
DCC stands in strong support.
In strong support. Thank you. Next we have Joseph Campos II. Good morning.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members. Joseph Campos, Deputy Director of Department of Human Services, but testifying as a private citizen. I am in strong support of Ms. Shikata's confirmation hearing and appointment as the Attorney General, and her 30+ years of experience within the Department of the Attorney General will be of great service to the state. Thank you for allowing me to testify.
Thank you. Next up is Lyle Hosoda. Oh, you are here. I didn't see you. And my former boss. Good morning.
Good morning, all. Thank you for the opportunity stand in strong support of Holly Shikata to be confirmed as our Attorney General. She has the requisite education, training, and experience to do the job. We're very fortunate to have her. She is my law school classmate, and I joke with and say that she got me through law school. She laughs, everybody else doesn't, so there's got to be some truth to her doing that. In addition to us seeing each other 3 or 4 times a year pre-COVID, for 15 years, I have dedicated and committed to the student athletes of the OIA, and I represent the OIA. In that connection, Ms. Shikata and I served and tackled many issues to resolve both the state and the DOE, and she has done so fearlessly. She's strong, she's committed. I'll leave you with one last example of that, and that's when she was supervising young deputies, one of them happened to be in a deposition with me, came back not knowing that we had a relationship, knew each other, and said, "You know this Lyle Hosoda guy? He's such a..." And Holly said, "What did you do?" And after she hears it, she tells him, "You got what you deserved." And that shows her strength of commitment and her strength overall. She's really strong. We will only waste heartbeats, breaths, etc. at this point on defending the Constitution, defending our rights, defending our community. She will do all of that for us, and I thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Valerie Cotto. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Rose and members of the committee. My name is Valerie Cotto. I'm the first Deputy Attorney General for the state of Hawaii, but I'm here testifying in my individual capacity. In the interest of time, I will be standing on my testimony. However, I do want to say that I know of no one more qualified, more capable, or more suited to be the next Attorney General of the state of Hawaii than Holly Shikata. Therefore, I wholeheartedly and strongly support her confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Daniel Honagami. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Rhodes and members of the Judiciary Committee. I'm Daniel Honagami, Chief Special Investigator from the Investigations Division of the Department of the Attorney General. I am testifying on my own personal capacity and on vacation time. I am in strong opposition of Holly Shikata being confirmed as the Attorney General. In my interactions with her as First Deputy Attorney General and Attorney General, Ms. Shikata has displayed characteristics of unjust, unethical, unfair, a person lacking in communication and managerial skills, and more seriously, a participant with the former Attorney General creating false allegations against me. Ms. Shikata, as a participant with the former Attorney General and her Office of the Attorney General, targeted me utilizing fraud to try and force me to resign and have me replaced with one of their chosen son. They appear to have a lack of knowledge that I am not an at-will employee, but a civil service employee owning certain rights under the state of Hawaii employment laws, which they did not adhere to in obeying. Their fraudulent conduct against me violated my civil rights. And as a victim of their fraudulent scheme, I initiated a complaint with a federal agency in charge of overseeing employee civil rights violations. That federal agency agreed with my investigation and subsequently charged the Department of the Attorney General with violating my civil rights. That investigation is continuing. I am not the only employee in the Department of the Attorney General that has been fraudulently, unethically, and unjustly targeted. A former at-will supervising Deputy Attorney General was targeted with a fraudulent evaluation. That office, the Office of the Attorney General targeted her and told
Mr.
her
Honagami, your time is up. There probably will be questions for you, so if you can hang around, that would be great.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Dale, thank you. Next up is Dale Head. Good morning.
Hello. Yes, I'm a private citizen, a federal retiree. My name is Dale Head. Talk to you from Moanalua Valley. See, I'd like to bring up that as Chief Law Enforcement Officer, the Attorney General also supposed to take care of the judicial branch. For instance, the Hawaii Supreme Court had ruled on 4 November of last year that legislators could not use this little trick known as gut and replace. And I had an experience happen again this past February, mid-February. A bill that I had introduced was gutted and replaced by the committee chair, Senate Consumer Protection and Commerce. And I wrote a highly detailed letter to the Attorney General office, including hyperlinks to a YouTube video and even timestamps, so that I'm not merely making an allegation. They could see the person talking. All right. That's called evidence. No response. I called down there on 2 occasions, talked to staffers, and one said, oh, they check on, they're going to have a look at it or not. I never heard back from the staffer. So as a member of the public, I'm hitting a stone wall of silence. This is unacceptable. It's not what I pay taxes for. So respectfully, I'm not in favor of confirmation of Ms. Shikata. There must be other candidates, okay? The Senate had declined to confirm Dan Gluck when he was appointed as the judge by Governor Ige. They got somebody else. Respectfully, I suggest you find someone else. The public should be respected. A letter sent to them, including follow-up phone calls, should be acknowledged, all right? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Governor Ige in support. Director Choi, Department of Taxation in support. Craig Harai, Director, Department of Budget and Finance in support. Jordan Lowe, Deputy Director for Department of Public Safety in support. Max Itani, Director of Department of Public Safety, both in support. Elizabeth Char for the Department of Health in support. And Ferreira Estachio, and the Director of Department of Labor and Industrial Relations in support. Mike McCartney, Director of Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism in support. Scott Glenn for Hawaii State Energy Office in support. Kurt Otaguro for the Department of Accounting and General Services in support. William J. Isla Jr., Chairman, Department of Hawaiian Homelands in support. Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 individuals all in support. And we have Stanley Ching for Devons, Nakano, Saito, Lee Wong, and Ching in support. And then an additional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 20 individuals in the Office of Enterprise Technology Services all in support. And it's so long since I've done this. Anyone else here wishing to testify on GM 596? Okay, seeing none. Members, any questions for the testifiers so far? Mr. Oh, go ahead.
No.
Go ahead, Senator Cosner.
I was going to ask Mr. Honagami. If you could just finish the last of your testimony.
Yes, as I was saying that I was not the only one who's been targeted by the Office of the Attorney General, by Ms. Shikata and the former Attorney General. A former Supervisory Deputy Attorney General was fraudulently evaluated and was given the option of either resigning or take a demotion. That Supervising Deputy Attorney General ultimately was demoted and constructively dismissed herself and filed a civil suit against the Department of the Attorney General. That lawsuit is a matter of public record and it's due for trial. These intentional fraudulent conduct should never have been committed by the Chief Law Enforcement Officer and Legal Advisor of the state of Hawaii. These are some of the reasons why Holly Shikata should not be confirmed as Attorney General for the state of Hawaii. I have submitted a written testimony and I'll stand by the rest of it. Thank you for allowing me to testify.
Okay, members, further questions? Senator Kim, go ahead.
Mr. Honagami, thank you very much for being here. How long have you been with the Attorney General's office?
I've been here as Chief Special Investigator for over 8 years.
And when you state that it's the former Attorney General and Nishikato, was there anybody else involved in some of your charges?
Yes, the former First Deputy Attorney General, who is departed to another agency, Senior Deputy Attorney General involved with the management of certain units over there. They all contributed to this evaluation of me being sort of rebellious as to what they were trying to accomplish. But I was only steering or guiding them that you cannot mix federal laws with state laws. We're two entirely different process in how we prosecute and how we investigate cases. And this sort of led to the rift as to our relationship.
So these, I don't know, four, I guess you named four individuals together, is that their role to evaluate staff and investigators? Or was this a special group or?
Well, that's however the prior Attorney General wanted things to be evaluated and run. But there's also a current special assistant there who's also in tight relationship in trying to manage the office, which is also, he's doing in my opinion, a bad job of it.
And so all of these fraudulent assessments of you and evaluation all stems from that one incident, or is there more than one incident?
There's numerous incidents in which she wrote up on her evaluation notes, and which I objected were all fraudulent, lies at times. And I submitted that in my investigation to that federal agency, and they concurred with my investigation that these are fraudulent, and they subsequently charged the department with civil rights violation of my rights, and it's currently being investigated.
And what was the, I guess, the outcome or any results from the federal's concurrence?
As I mentioned, it's still an ongoing process investigation, probably due to the COVID pandemic that leads to them in sort of everything gets backed up, I'm assuming.
Who's doing the is this a continuation of the federal investigation, or is
Yes,
this
it
the
is.
AG?
No, it's a continuing federal investigation in which they have either to go administrative, civilly, or criminal, as I've been explained to the process.
Now, is there a way that this can be resolved by the Attorney General, or is it a process that will continue no matter what?
It'll continue based upon my complaint and what the federal agency continues to discover in their investigation.
Okay, I guess the question I'm trying to ask is there been any kind of resolution or willingness for the Attorney General to reassess what went on based on this investigation, or?
During the initial phase of the complaint, there was an option to mediate. I chose not to mediate because of the egregiousness of their conduct. So that was taken off the table.
I see. Okay, thank you very much.
Members, other questions? Mr. Honagami, I have some questions for you. So page 1, paragraph 3 of your written testimony, you state that Claire Connors, of course, is the former Attorney General, quote, committed a civil rights violation, unquote, against you. What was that civil rights violation?
It's an age discrimination against me. They're saying that I was too old to hold my position at the age of 71.
Is that the only, that's the entire, sorry, were there other charges that you brought up at that, or charges is still the wrong word, other allegations in addition to the age discrimination?
Well, the age discrimination is based upon their false allegations made against me, fraudulently making reports against me to be investigated on 2 counts. That began about
What
a
were
year
those?
ago.
What were those two counts?
One was that I used my mace improperly when I was trying to arrest a deranged male on state property who attacked me. And the other was that I submitted a billing that disclosed the investigative manpower I had, in which I had nothing to do with submitting a billing to that agency. That was all fabricated. They should have picked it up on the first matter by overlooking that invoice.
How was that? How are those allegations against you resolved?
I have no idea. I asked what is the status of the investigation. I asked our human resources section as to why I'm not being interviewed or even addressed with the investigators. They could not provide me with an explanation. They're saying that the Office of the Attorney General was in charge of that matter. Yet the human resources section are supposed to manage all investigative matters, complaints, personnel matters.
But so as far as you know, at this point, that investigation is still ongoing of you?
I can't say, Senator. I don't know. I've not been informed of the status at all.
Okay, so you just don't know.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I believe you said before that you were not an exempt, but your position is not an exempt position.
I'm a civil service employee, and they at times weaponize the legislation trying to take away my civil service status by passing bills that would have removed my civil service status of myself and the administrator of the Criminal Justice Data Center.
Before you filed with the federal government, did you file a grievance with your union?
I don't have union rights. Anything that has to be, I grieve, has to be done under my own accord and has to be addressed at the Merits Appeals Board.
Oh, okay. So you're a union position, but you chose not to join the union. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Even though we join, we don't have the full benefits of the union. So it doesn't matter if we join or not.
But the grievance part of it, I mean,
I don't know for us.
You did not file a grievance then.
I can't file a grievance because we don't have the union process. The grievance I filed is with the process in how it is. We grieve it to the Human Resources Center of our department, and they take the initiative to.
So you filed something with the Human Resources then?
Yes, within the Department of the Attorney General, and subsequently I've been referred to address my matters with the Merit Appeals Board.
So what was the result of that? It's still on appeal?
It's still in status quo. It hasn't moved yet on certain matters besides my civil rights violations.
So how long ago did you file that?
I filed mostly on retaliatory conduct on the Office of the Attorney General. One was about 2 to 3 months ago.
One was, and there was another one as well?
Well, one was that they're saying that due to what my allegations were, they do not address matters of statutory interpretation. So they did not investigate that matter.
Okay, so one was thrown out for a lack of subject matter jurisdiction, basically.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then you said you filed with a federal agency. Did you file with the state, with the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission at any time?
Yes, when you file with the federal agency, they both complaints are distributed to the state entity also. And the state entity in this matter waived to the federal jurisdiction in which they have right now jurisdiction.
What's the federal agency? Is it Equal Employment Opportunity Commission?
Yes, sir.
It is.
Yes.
Okay. And at this point, that complaint is still pending as well?
Yes, the federal investigation is still active, still being conducted.
So they haven't given you a right to sue letter, or you haven't filed a lawsuit in a court at this point then?
No, they will not issue a right to sue if they're going to take the civil suit in their own hands. Should they decide that they will not, then they'll issue me a right to sue.
Okay. Would you be willing to let the committee take a look at the filings in that case? This is all, it's hard for us to get a good handle on it without seeing the legal documentation.
Yes, sir. If you subpoena me, I'll be gladly to turn it over to you, because right now it's under the federal hands. But if you subpoena me, I'll submit whatever records, documentation I have.
Okay. Members, I'm going to go on later, but if other members have questions, Senator Kim, go ahead.
Just a follow-up, Mr. Honagami, you mentioned something about you submitted a billing that was fabricated.
No, I did not submit that billing. I was accused of submitting that billing. I do not bill other agency when we have a MOU with them.
Okay, and were you given the opportunity to explain about the billing and when you, if and when you did?
Initially, when the charges were alleged to me, I asked to see the billing so I could just defend myself as to what they're alluding to. I was refused to be given that documentation. To this very day, I have not seen that documentation.
And are you still being accused of submitting that?
As of right now, I have no idea how the investigation is going. So I'm assuming it's either active or dead. If it's dead, they haven't informed me of the status of that investigation.
Okay. And this all happened about how long ago?
Within the year, starting from about April 2021.
Okay. And are you still actively employed? Are you actively in the office?
Yes, I'm employed, and I have not been subject to any adverse action of right now.
Okay, I was going to ask you what, you still go in and see everybody or whoever it is you work with on a regular basis?
Yes, Senator, I'm actively working as right now. As I said, they haven't conducted any adverse action upon me because those investigations are still either being conducted or is not being conducted. I have not been given any information of such status in which I should be given.
Is there been a change in how you're being treated on a day-to-day basis?
Yes, apparently matters of supervision, I'm not given instructions. They work through other personnel, my supervisors, for any type of communication.
So is it a hostile environment or?
Yes, it is a hostile work environment, and I've made some of my complaints, one of my complaints of that matter to be investigated.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Members, other questions? All right, Mr. Honagami, so let me go back to you want us to subpoena your filings. I mean, the privacy in the filings it's your privacy that's being protected.
Yes.
So you don't have, I would assume that you have the right to waive any privacy interests you have, at least for the part that you filed on your own, the complaint.
Yes, I could do that, but as I mentioned that, this intertwines with my federal complaints, so, I have no problem.
I thought this was your federal complaint. There's more than one complaint?
No, there's just one complaint, sir. So if
Okay,
you need it, I'll turn it over to you.
If what, I'm sorry?
If you need it, I'll turn it in to you.
Okay, well, I'd like to see it. Okay. So on page 1, paragraph 5 of your testimony, you say, and quoting again, Attorney General Shikata has participated in scheme with the prior Attorney General and her staff to violate my civil rights, utilizing fraud to discriminate against me, which I think we've covered already. I addressed my complaint to a federal agency last year, and that agency has determined that there's fraudulent conduct warranted, that their fraudulent conducts warranted the Department of the Attorney General to be charged with a civil rights violation. Has the Department of the Attorney General been charged with a civil rights violation by EEOC?
Yes, sir.
They have.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a case number or anything on that?
I have it, but I don't have my documents with me right now.
Okay, well, we'd like to see that too. Would that be okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, and then you go on to say, let's see, I think we've covered that already. The Office of the Attorney General filed false reports against me and sent it to the Department of Public Safety for investigation. Okay, no, we didn't cover that. So it's your understanding that there's a Department of Public Safety investigation of you at this time?
That's what I've been told via a complaint letter from the department, our Department of Human Resources.
And what's the status of that investigation?
As I said, Senator, I have no idea as to what
So
the
this is-
status is.
This is the same one we were talking about before.
Yes.
Okay. So as you mentioned with your discussion with Senator Kim, that you feel at this point that you're working in a hostile environment. Have you filed any kind of complaint about the hostile work environment?
Yes, I did with the, as a matter of retaliatory conduct. I submitted that to my federal, in my federal complaint. Anytime there's a retaliatory action, I file it with the federal
Okay,
agencies
so-
as required.
So it's part of the same complaint that you filed with the EEOC.
Yes, and I also filed one internally with our Department of Human Resources.
Okay. Any response on the one that you filed internally?
Yes, they said that there was no violation on them because they took away my division's taser, took away our access to blue lights, in which under 28-11 allows us to have it because we have those special privileges as all other police department and deputy sheriffs. They jeopardize our function when we have to go out and make felony arrests for warrants. And as of the last search warrant we went out, we utilized deputy sheriffs to have us backed up for execution of a search warrant.
Just follow up on that.
Yeah, go ahead, Senator Kim.
So they take away all of the investigators, not just yours.
No,
All
they
of-
took away, we had no access to our tasers. Subsequently, we conformed to as to what they wanted. So we've been given back our tasers. So now we can defend ourselves when we go out there to make felony arrests for arrest warrants.
But when they exercise some of that restrictions, it was not just on you, it was on all the investigators.
No, it's upon all my investigators. This
All
is
of your
why I
investigators.
filed a hostile work environment complaint.
Okay, thank you.
Members, any other questions? Otherwise, I will continue.
Can I,
Yeah, Senator Kim, go ahead.
I was going to ask Dale a question.
Oh, okay, let me finish up
Yes, go
with
ahead.
Mr. Honagami, if that's okay. So on page 2 of your testimony, the first paragraph, Attorney General, he's again quoting Attorney General. Let's see, where's the part I was interested in? Oh, yeah, so back to this situation with the violent homeless person. In your testimony, you say, even after I convicted the suspect with the Honolulu Prosecutor's Office. So the homeless person was convicted of something?
Yes, I went to trial for that. I told
As a
the
witness?
prosecutor. Beg your pardon, sir?
As a witness?
Yes, as arresting officer.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry, go ahead. So the homeless person was convicted of something?
Yes, we went to trial for him. I told the deputy prosecuting attorney that I did not want him to go to jail. He should be treated for his mental issues. He concurred, so the judge sentenced him to probation as long as he gets his mental treatment.
So that's a public case then?
Yes, it is.
Can you give us the case number when we get the other information from you?
Yeah, I'll get that to you, Senator. I don't have it offhand.
Okay. Okay, so then you also mentioned in your testimony, page 2, paragraph 3, that there's There's another lawsuit against the department by a former supervising deputy attorney general, and I believe you mentioned that before in your testimony today. What do you know what the status of that lawsuit is? I know you're not involved in it necessarily, but do you happen to know where it is?
Yes, I believe it's scheduled for trial. It's been filed by the former Deputy Attorney General. I think she might have filed it about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and the department was served with that suit.
Okay. Okay, I think that's it for me for this with this testifier. Members, any other questions? Okay, Senator Kim, thank you, Mr. Sorry, not blanking on your name.
Honagami.
Honagami, yes. Thank you, Mr. Honagami, for appearing. And Senator Kim, you had a question for
I don't, yes, for Dale Head. Mr. Head, are you still here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Mr.
Hello.
Head, just a question. So you called and you have the dates on when you called the Attorney General's office. And as of now, you've never heard back again?
Right.
Correct?
The first staffer I talked to just confirmed the yes, indeed. They did have the email letter. And
Okay.
the time go by and I called talked to a second person, receptionist named Bev. She told me on the phone, "Oh, I'll check on it." Never heard from her again.
Okay.
So the letter plus 2 phone calls, no acknowledgement.
Okay, did you have any knowledge that the Attorney General herself knew about the calls?
Oh, no, when I first called down there, I was told to use the email address for their legislative contact. Someone's designated for that. So I was not privileged to have the email address for the Attorney General herself.
Okay,
So I cannot say if she read it, but it's unprofessional for that office not to respond.
okay. Thank you. Appreciate that information. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Members, any other questions? Okay, Ms. Shikata, if you'd like to come up and make an opening statement, that would be welcome. Good morning.
Morning. Morning, Chair Rose, members of the Committee of Judiciary. Thank you for the opportunity to testify before you today. I'd like to say that, I've worked for the Department of the Attorney General for over 30 years.
I apologize for interrupting. Can you just pull the mic a little closer?
Sure.
Now that we have these shields, I can't hear you as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that better?
A little bit, I
Okay.
think, yeah.
Thank you. I started my career in private practice, and I worked in private practice for 4 years and then determined that that wasn't quite for me, and I was interested in public service work. And I wanted to give back to the state. Working in private practice, however, provided me with a great foundation for my work with the state. Coming to work for the Department of the Attorney General was the best career move I ever made. I never regretted it for a moment. Our employees are diligent, hardworking individuals, and I have the ability to work with some of the brightest, most committed attorneys in the state. Their knowledge and expertise is truly amazing and awe-inspiring. Their knowledge and expertise is beyond what I would have imagined. There's no way that I can be knowledgeable about all of the areas that our clients need assistance on, but I don't have to be because I have people in my department who have that knowledge and are able to use that knowledge and assist me in providing the best legal advice that we can to our clients. A little bit about myself. I'm a proud public school graduate. I graduated from Kaiser High School. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting from the University of Hawaii, and I earned my law degree from the William S. Richardson School of Law. I've been married for the last 37.5 years. I have known my husband since elementary school. I have 2 grown children, both work for the state, and I very much appreciate the support of my family. They have never held me back from doing anything that I've wanted to do career-wise, and I know I haven't always been the best mom and there for them all the time, but I was fortunate enough to have extended family that would help. In particular, my in-laws who we lived with, and I could rely on them to help me with the kids and to make sure they were fed on those nights that I had to work late. I started my career at the Attorney General's office in the Family Law Division, did family child abuse and neglect cases, had the benefit of doing adoption cases, guardianship cases. And I was then asked to move to do the work on the Felix consent decree. And so I transferred over to the Education Division and started there in 1999 and was there until I moved to the front office in 2021. I subsequently, at the Education Division, became the supervisor and did that for 18 years. I know I don't have much time to serve in this position, but I am committed to doing my best with the time that I have. I would like the opportunity to lead this department. It is a wonderful department. And I'm sure it's no surprise that I love working for the department. It is absolutely the best department, absolutely amazing people working in there. The supervisors of our department developed a mission statement. It is to be the embodiment of responsive, trustworthy government. I see our department employees working hard to achieve that mission on a daily basis. And if given the opportunity, I will work every day to have our department provide the best legal services possible to all of our clients as we assist them in achieving their goals. There can truly be no greater honor than the opportunity to lead this incredible department. And I respectfully ask for the opportunity to be the Attorney General for the state of Hawaii.
Thank you very much. Members, questions? Let me start.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Senator Casa, go ahead.
Aloha.
Hi.
So in your written testimony, you do say the Attorney General's client is the state of Hawaii.
Correct.
And that the Attorney General represents the interest of the people as a whole. And so my question is around what happens when the two may be opposed, and how do you deal with a situation like that?
So anytime we have any conflicts within our department, we ensure that we put up the firewalls and we have different divisions, different individuals representing the different entities. Val Cotto, who is my first deputy, and I will ensure that we put up a firewall in our office, and she will supervise one side of the wall and I'll supervise the other side of the wall. And we're able to do that pursuant to the Klanhoff case that allows us to provide representation when there may be conflicts.
Okay, how would that work in, for example, the state has clear legal responsibility when it comes to beneficiaries of Hawaiian homelands, which is to benefit all of Hawaii's people. Yet state has resisted the various state Supreme Court rulings in the Kalima case, for example. As an AG, how do you navigate that conflict and opposing priorities? And then again, what is the basis for those actions?
So in the Kalima case, we are looking at the individual rights of the Native Hawaiians as well as the interest to the state. There are times, yes, that they do conflict with each other. We do have different people looking at the different issues. We are able to put up the firewalls and have people look at the different issues and assess and advise both sides of that wall. And so that's how we handle all of our conflict situations.
Can you explain what is the firewall? Because I think I'm not catching
Sure.
how that applies to this implementing.
So firewalls actually are blocks between the individuals that are advising opposing positions, opposing sides, opposing clients. And we ensure that there are no sharing of information. They treat each other as though they are from separate law firms and conduct themselves with each other as though they are from separate law firms. So each maintains the confidentiality of their own clients and provides the vigorous representation that each of the clients deserve.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Members, other questions? I have a few. So you're, or Frank, in your, I don't want to call it an admission because you can't, no one person can do everything in the legal field in a lifetime, but you don't really have any criminal background.
That's correct.
And I think it's fair to say that other attorney generals before you have been perfectly good attorney generals that didn't have any criminal background or very little. But how do you make up for that lack of knowledge on the criminal side?
Thank you for the question. I have a special assistant, Gary Yamashiroya. He is a retired detective from the Chicago Police Force. He is also an attorney, has done prosecution work. So he is my go-to person with respect to criminal matters. I also have an outstanding criminal justice division. And so anytime I need any assistance or need to discuss any criminal matters, need assessment, analysis on criminal matters, I turn to my criminal justice division.
Okay. I need to talk about, I want to talk about the testimony offered by Mr. Honagami. So, I'm sorry. Would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, before you go into that.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's a separate, it's not.
Yeah, go ahead. That's
criminal. Okay. So, okay, thank you. You know, going back to the walls, the China wall, setting up a firewall, or whichever how you want to call it. You know, I've raised concerns to you regarding the representation of the legislature and then the representation of the governor, and there have been opinions by your office that have leaned very much in support of the governor's actions or the concerns that we've had, and yet it doesn't seem as though we are given an attorney that will advocate or look at what it is that the legislature position. And, you know, cases, the appointments of carryovers, the carryover of board members have been an issue that we've not agreed on, and our attorneys have looked at it in a different way. You folks have looked at it in a different way, but if you're representing both of us, shouldn't we have an attorney that is looking at it from our point of view?
So all of our deputies should be looking at things from the point of view of the legislature when the legislature seeks advice. We do not hesitate to reach out also to your legislative attorneys to consult with them and work with them and try to come up with the best legal advice that we can for the legislature. I do realize that at times the legislature and the governor's position may not coincide with each other. And under those circumstances, I believe our job is to look at the law and interpret the law to the best that we can and provide that to both the legislature and the governor.
In the case of the governor issuing an executive order, and I know I've discussed this with you as well, and it wasn't an emergency executive order, it was an executive order on the, and for whatever it's worth, S397, which I know the public probably have no idea what that is, but I know you do. And the sense that we had asked for an opinion prior to even mentioning S397 on how executive orders are given and the
I'm sorry, I don't know what S397 is either, so maybe you could explain that for,
okay,
for all of us.
S397 is an accounting, could be a special fund in itself where the BNF has allowed the university to hire people with special funds and the state pays the benefits. There's a law that clearly says that all special funded positions that entity has to pay the benefits. And so for over a decade, there was a deal struck way back when, I think in 2006 or somewhere around there, where there was an agreement by BNF that the legislature, that the state would pay those benefits. There is no written authority. There is no enabling legislation. There's no statutory for them to do that, but they've been doing it, and we didn't know. I didn't know about it. When Ways and Means, I didn't know about it, and this has been going on. Now it started with a small amount of salaries of about $6 million worth of salaries, and that ballooned up to like $40 million worth of salaries, which means we're paying 50% of the benefits, which has not been. We haven't been putting it part of our budget. So this has been a point of contention. We had a bill introduced, and because of COVID, the bill didn't pass. And then in the meantime, the governor, I went up to see the governor, but then the governor issues an executive order allowing this process, which violates a statute. And my understanding, and based on a previous opinion, that the governor can't override a statute by way of an executive order. And we've raised that, but yet the executive order still sits there. And you folks, you guys issued that executive order for the governor or with the governor, I'm not sure how that goes, and never once mentioning the statute that executive order violated, and instead said it was past practice or based on past practice. So, I mean, but where's the firewall? Where's the other side of it?
So Senator, yes, you did raise this with me. We have been looking into this. With respect to the EO itself, it does not reference that statute. It did, the intent of it was to codify or put into writing the practice that had been going on. And so, you know, this.
But how do you address that? There's a statute. You can't put something in writing that violates a statute.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So this executive order does not address the statute itself.
But it violates the statute. And it's your folks, it's your job as the Attorney General to carry out the laws of the statute and also to represent the legislature. So therein lies.
Correct.
Questions.
Yes. And how we address this is delicate. I mean, there is a firewall, and I am not at liberty to share what one side of the firewall may be discussing.
But I don't get but our side of the firewall has been absent or has not been in existence. Do you feel what I'm saying? You're part of the firewall, governor's firewall, you have everybody there, but on our side of the firewall, we haven't been assigned an AG or been told or been advocating. I mean, I don't understand how that firewall works.
So we are continuing to look at the situation, Senator, and we will talk to you separately. I don't think that we are in a position at this point to discuss the positions.
I understand.
Publicly.
I'm not looking for that, but I am looking for, you know, how do you address these issues? How do you deal with your clients when we're one of the clients?
Yes.
It's been going on for a lot, months, this violation of the statute. And I don't know how BNF can be authorized to give away money or not collect money. I mean, what authorization do they have? So when you say you folks are talking about it, I mean, it just mind boggles me that how long it takes the AG to address some of these issues.
I hear you, Senator.
Thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Chair.
Let me just follow up on that real quick. And I'll go to
Okay, I'm gonna
Senator
follow up after.
So, but I mean, the wall of separation really only works if there's a litigation involved. So if it's just a decision that the AG has to make, then you're just weighing the interests of us versus the interests of the governor versus the interest of whatever department, correct?
The firewall does not have to be only for litigation. I mean, there are times when
but you can't send us an EO that says, okay, legislature, you're right, go ahead and do this, and then send and then write an EO for the governor. I'm sorry, pointing to Donna as if she's a governor, which okay, we'll think about that. But you know, it would be inconsistent. I mean, you can do things internally inconsistent, but you can't do them publicly inconsistent, because then it's what is the actual position of the AG's office at that point?
you are correct. We cannot take publicly differing positions. They have to be, as we interpret the law, it has to be consistent positions with respect to the analysis
So
interpretation.
then
of the
how
law.
do you choose? I mean, this is where Senator Kim and I have questioned over the years why were the AG's client when it would appear in many instances, well, not the AG's client. The executive branch is the AG's client.
I see you all as my client. And I do understand the perception. And what I'd like to say is that while the laws can be interpreted in many different ways, part of our job and responsibility is to inform our client of the various ways a law can be interpreted. We will provide our belief on how the law should be interpreted, but ultimately the interpretation of the law goes back to either the intent of the legislature or the court's determination on how to interpret that law.
Okay. All right. Senator Cassie, go ahead.
Yeah, can I just follow up on kind of both of those, going back to the Kalima case? So the courts did determine in the Kalima case, and so the AG, you're saying within a litigation like that, the AG does have these firewalls and you're representing both sides. So are you saying that DHHL beneficiaries are being represented within or
not by the Attorney
considered?
General's office?
Yeah.
The DHHL beneficiaries are being represented by private counsel. So our office is representing the state as well as DHHL.
Okay, but and again, going back to that representing people as a whole and the legal obligation to the beneficiaries through the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, et cetera. How do you manage these seemingly opposing things, but you're obligated to them as well?
We are to the implementation of the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act. How that act gets implemented and what is required is what we are looking at. We don't necessarily agree with the position that these individuals should be receiving the amount of damages that they're seeking. And they do have private counsel representing them in that case. And so we are in the process of having discussions with their private counsel. The court has had this case for 20 plus years. There have been various rulings in the case, and we do our best to apply the rulings and determine what is the next step and what would be most appropriate with respect to the litigation. The Hawaiian Homes Commission Act does provide for use of funds for Native Hawaiians, but it also provides for other uses of that funds as a trust. And so we also have the responsibility of balancing how we fairly treat all of the requirements of that Hawaiian Homes Commission Act.
Okay, so then it seems like in response, then the analogy of that firewall doesn't actually fit with this particular situation.
Not necessarily with this particular situation, unless there is a position that Department of Hawaiian Homelands wants to take, which I'm not aware of. That would be contrary to what position the state is taking. But we constantly are in contact and have that discussion with them and trying to figure out how we resolve any litigation that we might have.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, questions, other questions?
Can I just submit this opinion? I don't know if submit, but,
You shouldn't send it around to us, to whoever you'd like, that's fine, yeah.
Well, just basically from your office stating that an executive order has to meet three requirements: one, be non-legislative; two, issued pursuant to constitutional authority; and three, consistent with existing law. So again, that's clear. So that's why I still have problems in why it's got taken by so long, and and ignoring or omitting, not referencing a existing law, to me is a violation of the executive order. So just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So let's turn to Mr. Honagami's testimony for a little while here. So my understanding from him was that he did file a complaint with the EEOC at the federal level. And were you named in that complaint in a personal or in a government capacity?
Honestly, Chair, I really don't know. I know the EEOC complaint has been filed. We've been informed of that. I don't recall exactly who it was filed against. I don't know that they are individual complaints. There has been, to my knowledge, no findings by the EEOC at this point.
Okay, no, I didn't think there had been. Can we, Mr. Honagami has said he will turn over his side of the documentation. We'd like to see your side too. Is that something you can turn over to or would turn over to us?
I'd have to take a look at what the our filings contain, because there is a confidentiality and privacy interest. It belongs to Mr. Honagami. We don't have the right to waive that.
Okay.
But if Mr. Honagami consents to it, we absolutely would be able to turn it over.
Okay, well, we'll be in touch then. Are you aware of any other, let's see, there's such a variety of, let me just go through the list here. So is it true that the Attorney General's Department asked PSD to investigate him?
There is an ongoing investigation being handled by the Department of Public Safety.
That was something you requested, or was that something that Ms. Connors requested before she left?
It occurred when Ms. Connors was still the Attorney General.
But you were part of that decision-making process?
Yes.
Okay. And that had to do with the homeless man and the use of mace and my understanding from him was that the accusation against Mr. Honagami was that he had released some kind of a report that put names out there that shouldn't have been put out there. Is that correct?
Senator, I hesitate to speak to an ongoing investigation and the.
But there is an investigation.
There is an investigation
about that topic that he mentioned.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what, I mean, he said it's been like 11 months and no one has contacted him. Is that the timeline that you're familiar with too?
It sounds about right. We asked the Department of Public Safety to handle that, and we have not been in contact with the Department of Public Safety on the investigation. We certainly do not want to exert any type of control or influence on the investigation. And so we have left it to their investigation to be completed at however
why
they
was it done
determine.
at PSD? Why not internally at the AG's office?
Well, with these complaints, normally our investigations are handled by our investigations division. And we just did not feel that it would be appropriate to ask an investigator who is supervised by Mr. Honagami to conduct an investigation.
Okay, so he took it outside the house.
Correct.
For fairness sake.
Correct.
I suppose which way you
Yes.
look at it. Okay. Now there's also this other lawsuit that this unnamed former supervising deputy attorney general brought against the department. You
I am
can
familiar
verify
with that. Yes.
That's happening too?
Yes.
Okay. What's the status on that? Do you know?
I believe it's currently in the discovery stage.
Okay. And I mean, that's just a regular lawsuit, right? So
Correct.
is that, so can we have the case number and stuff?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. The other question I wanted to ask you was, in your, as probably everyone's familiar, the committee writes a letter to you asking questions before this hearing. And one of them is there anything that you think, it's better just read it. Is there any information regarding your experience and background that you disclose you think might cause embarrassment to the governor, the department, or the legislature? And your answer was, I'm not aware of any experience or anything in my background that if disclosed might cause embarrassment to the governor, the department, or the legislature. You didn't think that being sued by a disgruntled employee would qualify as something that would be a negative or an embarrassment?
Chair, I don't believe I sued personally. There might be a suit against the department. I actually believe that former attorney may be just suing her former supervisor. So there wasn't anything that I thought would be of embarrassment.
Okay.
There are always personnel issues that are occurring within our department. And so, you know, they are personnel issues that we need to deal with.
Okay, I understand your answer. Okay, members, any other questions? Senator Kim, go ahead.
Thank you. In all of your years, and you've been at the AG's office for a long time, has there been any other kinds of complaints within your department or within your area, or against you, or of that nature?
Sure. When I first started as the supervisor of education division, I think my style was a little different from the prior supervisor. So some of the deputies were unhappy, I guess, with my style of supervision. And so they did, you know, complain to the AG at the time, who was Mark Bennett. Mark told me to carry on and continue supervising the way I deemed appropriate. There have been a couple of ODC complaints that have been filed against me. None which have actually resulted in anything. There was one in particular that I actually went through a full hearing on and then was cleared. But both were in having to do with my position as a deputy AG and a supervising deputy AG at the education division.
That's pretty much it.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I assume that the charges that Mr. Honagami talked about were filed prior to you becoming the acting AG or interim AG, correct?
Correct, but it was while I was the first deputy AG.
Right. Okay. So now that you've been, you know, acting AG and you're up for the confirmation and certainly been carrying on as far as your leadership, is there anything that you feel that you could do to resolve some of these things that might have happened on another AG's watch, and maybe that some of these complaints might have had or didn't have merit, or you know, I'm not sure on the submitted billing. I mean, as the leader now in charge, you see what is in the best interest of the Attorney General's office and dealing fairly with everybody. Is there anything that you've tried to do to resolve some of these things?
I believe that it's in the best interest of the department to allow the investigations to be completed.
Okay, but I mean, you know, it's talked about hostile environment, and is there anything that you've attempted to do that would minimize some of these things?
As Mr. Honagami has shared, our communications now flow through his chief deputies. And that is something that we've decided would be most appropriate at this point. This is the first that I'm hearing about a hostile work environment, but I was informed that there was some concern about contact with him directly, and so we have been in contact with his chief deputies.
Okay, but he said he's filed complaints about hostile, about retaliation. Were you aware of that?
Yes, I am aware of his complaint on retaliation. As he did state, it was investigated by our department and found not to have any findings on that.
Okay, so you feel that you're able to carry on despite the fact that, I mean, it's hard not to expect some kind of hostile environment when there's all these charges going back and forth and stuff. So I guess as the AG, I'm kind of looking for what kind of resolution, or what are you attempting to do to, because I'm sure the morale of the department, or especially possibly the morale of the investigative division, might be suffering because of some of the stuff going on. You need to be aware of that, right? as
Sure.
the AG.
Yes,
And if there is any attempt for retaliation, or if there is any kind of hostile environment, that you would do everything you can to try to minimize that.
absolutely. A hostile work environment is not acceptable. Retaliation is not acceptable. We have done everything that we can to ensure that that does not occur. And the best way we can do that at this point is to communicate with the chief deputies.
And you feel that's being done adequately?
Yes, we have a good relationship with the chief deputies. They respond to us very
Does
well.
the chief deputies have a good response, or good communication with the people that they're overseeing that might be complaining about a hostile environment?
I am not aware of any of the other investigators that are complaining.
Were you aware of Mr. Head's calls?
I was not.
Does that bother you?
A little bit, yes.
So what do you intend to do about that?
I would like to work with my folks, go back and talk to them about when these requests come in, how we should be responding. Everybody deserves a response.
Right.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
But how do you do that? How do you keep up with this? I know it's hard. You probably get a lot of calls. We do too. My office gets a lot of calls. And I've try to create a way in which none of the calls fall through. Some I choose not to respond to, obviously, and you may as well. But is there a process so that you are aware? Because you get these complaints from constituents that's calling up, and if you never get it and they don't call back, then how do you stay on top of it?
Yeah, there is a process. All these emails come into our Hawaii.ag email address. Phone calls come into our department. Sometimes through our receptionist, sometimes through our staff up at our office. They are to be logged. And when it rises to the level of an issue that they believe that I need to take a look at, they will normally inform me of it. Otherwise, we have other people within the department who look at the requests that come in, the issues that come up, and respond to the individuals. I'm not sure what happened here.
Okay, well, according to his testimony, he said he called the AG on Friday, the 25th of February. And after discussion with the staffer, decided to make it formal, emailed a letter. Okay, then sent the email message out 2 days later on 27th of February. After not getting a timely reply, not even acknowledgement, called the office again on Wednesday, March 2nd. Different staffer promised to check on the request, never heard again. So it's not like it's just one call or one email. There was follow-up, and yet person is totally ignored, or totally.
So yes, I need to follow up on that. I'm not saying that this is what happened here, but there are times when individuals think that they've sent us an email and it has not gone to the proper email address. So I don't know for sure. If he called a staffer, then definitely we should be aware that something had come in or was coming in.
And he called in the beginning, made the formal letter, and then called again and said that they would check on it, but didn't even get back. So,
I will follow up, Senator.
Thank you. I will follow up on it.
Sure, Senator Garcia.
I do want to, this does bring up an issue that I had raised with you directly in my community. And I have to say that we did not continue to follow up with your office, but it does bring up questions as in terms of following up for that particular case, which was seemingly egregious, and not having follow-up from our police department within the county. And that those kinds of scenarios do come up, and follow-up is really important, because otherwise we have situations in the community where law enforcement is not responding to a potentially very dangerous situation. And my question for you is it normal for someone who has an investigation like Mr. Honagami has claimed to not really know the status? And I'm understanding that it's been around 11 months or so. Is it very common to not know the status of the case? Because it sounded like he doesn't know what's actually happening with this investigation and where it's going, or even if it's being investigated. Is that normal?
It can be. It depends on the case and the facts and circumstances and the complexity and what might need to be gathered in terms of evidence, individuals that may need to be interviewed and spoken to. In this particular situation, we made the referral to Department of Public Safety, and we have not been involved once the referral has been made.
Thank you.
Okay, members, at this point, I think we will wrap things up on Shikata's interview today. I'm going to put off decision-making until Friday, April 1st at 10:35 a.m. and hopefully we can get some of this documentation that we've asked for from you and from Mr. Honagami. So for this measure, for those interested in GM 596, Holly Shikata for Attorney General, we'll do decision-making on April 1st, Friday, 10:35 a.m. in this room 016 and until the video conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up on our agenda is SCR 8, ratifying a proposed amendment to the Constitution of the United States, giving the Congress of the United States power to limit, regulate, and prohibit the labor of persons under 18 years of age. First up on SCR 8 is Ann Ferreira Estacchio, Director, Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. And you are here. Good morning. Thanks for waiting.
Good morning, Chair Rhodes, Vice Chair Keoho Kalole, and members of the Committee on Judiciary. Ann Estacchio, Director, Department of Labor. I stand on our written testimony in support of this measure, and thank you for allowing me to testify, and I'm available for any questions.
Great, thank you. Next is Ramon Riesgo in support, Scott Smart in opposition, and Elisa Weichel for the Children's Advocacy Institute in support. SCR 8 members, any questions? Check. Okay, we'll go ahead and move. Thank you very much for waiting all that time. We'll go ahead and move on to SCR 26. And I believe that's SR 20. This is a Senate resolution and concurrent resolution urging the United States Congress to enact legislation to address the rise in illegal text messages and to urge the U.S. Congress to consult with the Federal Communications Commissions to develop proposed legislation. First up on SCR 6 and SR 20 is Stephen Levins, Executive Director for the Office of Consumer Protection in support, Dara Carlin in support, and Raiden Iwamoto in support. No one to ask questions of, so we'll go ahead and move on to SCR 60. And SR 55, committing to provide greater public access to the legislative process by adopting rules to allow for virtual testimony, hearing recordings, and internet broadcasts of hearings beyond periods of catastrophic events. First up on SCR 60 is Sandy Ma for Common Cause. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Sandy Ma for Common Cause Hawaii, and we support SCR 60 and SR 55. Thank you so much for scheduling these resolutions for a hearing. If there can be a silver lining to this pandemic, it has shown that we could have remote testimony. Remote testimony has been really appreciated by everyone in Hawaii, especially people on neighbor islands, people who don't like to fight traffic even on Oahu, and people who have mobility concerns. So this has been a really good thing for legislative and civic engagement. We do want to seek one clarification, and just to make sure that the recordings of these hearings, legislative information hearings, etc., are archived for future viewing at a later time. So we just want to make sure that that is possible. Thank you very much, and I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Robin Knox.
Not present, Chair.
In support, Meredith Buck.
Not present, Chair.
Also in support, Pamela Wyolena.
Not present, Chair. I believe the rest of Zoom testifiers are not present.
Okay. Shanti Brown, support Shannon Matson, and support Randy Ferreira, Executive Director for Hawaii Government Employees Association, and support Kirby Shaw, Executive Director for Disability and Communications Access Board, and support A. Kathleen Lee for Temple of Spiritual Healing and Education, and support Marilyn Yamamoto for Hawaii Family Advocacy Team, and support Susan B. Roberts Emery for the Green Party Hawaii, and support Douglas Miller, Legislative Committee for League of Women Voters, and support Sylvia Dolina for Pele Ulani Farm LLC, and support Jerry Petro for Hawaii Seed, and support and Frederick for Hawaii Alliance for Progressive Action, and support the rest of the page, about, I don't know, 15 more, all in support. The next entire page, all individuals, all in support. And there's some that were specifically on SR 55. They are all in support as well. Members, any questions on SCR 60 or SR 55? Okay, if not, let's move on. SCR 110, SR 97, strongly urging the Supreme Court of the United States to adopt a formal code of ethics. First up on SCR 110 is Dara Carlin in support. And that's it. And there's no one to ask any questions of, so we'll go ahead and move on. Next up is SCR 185, denouncing Russia's actions causing a humanitarian crisis in Ukraine and urging the United States Congress to take concrete action to support Ukrainian refugees and to increase the refugee limits for the United States. First up and only is Gerard Silva in opposition. No one to answer questions, so we'll move on. Next up is SCR 195. Urging members of the United States Congress to enact federal legislation granting statehood to the people of Washington, D.C. First up is Sandy Ma for Common Cause. Morning again.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Sandy Ma for Common Cause Hawaii. We support SCR 195, urging the members of the United States Congress to enact federal legislation granting statehood to the people of Washington, D.C. This is a civil rights and social justice issue. People who live in DC are predominantly minority population, and to deprive people living in Washington, DC of the right to vote for congressional representatives is depriving people of our fundamental constitutional right. And so that's why this is a civil rights and social justice issue. And so thank you for hearing this measure, and we support it. And I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Randy Ferreira, Executive Director of Hawaii Government Employees Association in support. Kalani Warner, State Director for United Public Workers in support. Michael Kaloyu Sr. for Rainbow Family 808 in support. John Bickel, President of Americans for Democratic Action in support. Then we have 1, 2, 3 individuals opposed, and then we have Carrie Ann Shirota for the ACLU of Hawaii in support. Members, any questions on SCR 195? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Ms. Ma, for being here. We'll move on to HB 1339 relating to impeachment. This establishes requirements for institution and causes for impeachment of the governor or lieutenant governor. Only have one piece of testimony on that, and that is Gerard Silva, and he's in support. No one to ask any questions though. We'll go ahead and move on to the next bill. HB 2197 relating to gambling. This amends the offenses of promoting gambling in the first and second degree to Class B felony and Class C felony respectively. Excludes the offenses of promoting gambling in the first and second degree from qualifying for deferred acceptance of guilty plea or null contenders. First up on 2197 is Lee S. Hayakawa for the Office of Public Defender. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Assistant Public Defender Lee Hayakawa. The Office of the Public Defender has submitted comments on HB 2197 HD1. The OPD is pleased with the HD1, which has removed many of the harsh and severe provisions of the original version of HB 2197. There should be a very clear distinction between gambling and promoting gambling. Gambling addresses the player or the person who engages in gambling solely as a contestant or bettor. Promoting gambling addresses the owners and operators of gambling and gaming establishments or enterprises, the individuals profiting from these illegal businesses. Unfortunately, this section, as it is currently written, blurs the line between the two, and this could result in dire consequences for anyone charged under these statutes. Lastly, the Office of the Public Defender respectfully opposes excluding promoting gambling in the first and second degrees for consideration for deferrals in Chapter 853. I will be available for questions. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this measure.
Thank you. Thanks for being here today. And next is Trisha Nakamatsu, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney for the City and County. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Deputy Prosecutor Trisha Nakamatsu, appearing on behalf of the Department of Honolulu Prosecuting Attorney. We are in support of the bill. We do feel that the proposed changes would help to deter the type of illegal gambling establishments that the bill is targeting. Our written testimony goes into more details about why we think it would be effective, but we also make a suggestion that the provision that was taken out regarding, or the amendment that was taken out regarding making it a state of mind negligence, we'd suggest that be put back in if one of the goals is to in fact target property owners who are essentially benefiting from these illegal gambling establishments, but currently can't, or it is nearly impossible, as our written testimony indicates, to hold them accountable under the current knowing state of mind, even if there are repeated notices that their lessees or their renters were cited for having illegal gambling activities there. We're available for questions, if any. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Carrie Ann Shirota for the ACLU of Hawaii in opposition, Gerard Silva in opposition, Peter Kula George in opposition. Oh, he might be here. Yes, you are. Morning.
Good morning. Thanks for letting me speak. I don't have long testimony. I think I saw this and was a bit surprised about the idea that increasing the punitive nature of the state's relationship to gambling is going to have the desired effect. I think that there's a really long history of evidence that shows that activities such as gambling are not done by people who are kind of making these balanced calculations of, oh, what are the laws, what are these consequences going to be like, and whether increasing it's like the punishment is going to deter people. I think the evidence shows that it won't, and that really the only consequence is going to be that individuals are punished and significantly in a way that I don't think is necessarily fair and isn't going to have, again, the intended benefits. So thanks for letting me speak today.
Thank you very much. That's all the testimony we have on HB 2197. Anyone else here wishing to testify on HB 2197? If not, members, any questions? Okay, we'll move on to the last bill, which is HB 2075. This increases the time frame that a permit to acquire a firearm can be used. 30 days, eliminates physical inspection of firearms generally, with exceptions. And first up on this one is Amy Murakami, Deputy Attorney General. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Rhodes, members of the committee, Deputy Attorney General Amy Murakami on behalf of the Department of the Attorney General, who supports this bill. The purpose of this bill is to address a recent federal court ruling in Yukatake versus Connors that invalidated two Hawaii statutes. The first being regarding the 10-day time limit for a permit to acquire a handgun to be used, and the second was to require all firearms to be inspected at the time of registration. This bill is necessary to ensure that permits to acquire handguns do have an expiration date and that they are not allowed to be used for an unlimited period of time. And this bill does that by increasing the time from 10 days to 30 days to ensure that the background information, such as a person's mental health and criminal convictions history, are not stale. The second
part of this bill is to require that certain firearms are still required to be physically inspected at the time of registration. The reason for this is that firearm serial registrations and serial numbers are very important to law enforcement in order for law enforcement to trace firearms. And this also has an important component of making sure that illegal firearms are not registered. And how this bill does that is by requiring the ghost guns, which are manufactured without serial numbers, to require them to be inspected, because serial numbers on ghost guns have to be manually put on, unlike manufactured with their very sophisticated ways of ensuring that these serial numbers are permanent and unerasable. The other two categories are firearms transported in by individuals coming from out of state and firearms being transferred between private individuals. And the reason for this is these are unlike firearms that are being sold by licensed firearm dealers who need to ensure that the firearms they sell are legal.
Okay. Thank you very
Sorry.
much.
Thank you. We asked.
Next up is Ryan Tinajero, or Tinajero, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name. Oh, okay. Okay. And then I just think you're next, Mr. Yukitake. Good morning.
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Judiciary Committee members. I'm Todd Yukitake. I'm the plaintiff in Yukitake versus Connors, the lawsuit previously mentioned. I oppose this bill because the federal district judge, Seabright, ruled in our favor. But I'm opposed to basically the in-person inspection of the firearms. I do support the permit extension date to 30 days. And not having to do in-person inspection for dealer purchase firearms. So I know that this case is still going through appeals. I would like to make an amendment if this bill is passed. Basically correcting or making changes to section 3B, where if a person does a person-to-person transfer, like classified or used guns to another person in the state, if the firearm's already registered with the police department, they can do remote registration. They don't have to come in person because the firearm's already in the HPD system, and all they have to do is just swap the names. They've seen the firearm and it's already been registered already. So that saves us a lot of time. Right now, to go into a police station to register a firearm, that usually requires a day off from work. And of course, you all know that Hawaii has a high cost of living. Every little bit affects us. And by doing this change, it still requires in-person inspection for like out-of-state firearms brought into the state and so-called ghost guns. So I think that still meets the intent of your bill. So if you could make that change for me, it'll help me, all the firearm owners save time and money. Also, HPD should be able to save time and money by not having to process all those in-person registrations. But thank you. I'll be available for questions.
Thank you for hanging out so long. Next is Joseph Trinidad, Major Records and ID Division, Honolulu Police Department.
Yep. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. We stand by written testimony in support of this bill, and I'm available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jerry Ewan for Pu'uloa Rifle and Pistol Club. Apparently not here in opposition. Next is John Abbott for Hawaii Firearms Coalition. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, committee. Hawaii Firearms Coalition stands in opposition to this bill. The ruling by the judge was very specific in that any inspection of firearms was found to be unconstitutional. There were no exceptions to this. Also, to reiterate Todd's point about the cost of the registration, I bought a firearm last year during the pandemic. It was a rifle. It cost me $600. It cost me 3 days of work to register those guns. So that gun actually. So if you add up the amount of cost, it cost me $1,800 to register that firearm. Now, that may not be a lot of money to some people, but it is a lot of money to people like myself who are trade people. We can't just go back to work in the middle of the day. You know, we take a day off from work, it's the entire day. And I think that's something that is kind of lost on a lot of legislators who don't actually have a blue collar job. These restrictions on our rights, this inspection serves no purpose for the public safety. And that was one of the things that was found in the trial, that there was no actual statistical safety measure. There was actually no actual measurable results of increasing safety by inspecting firearms. People who have guns illegally here are not going to register them. Simple as that. I'll be available for questions if anyone has any committee members have any questions. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Michael Rice.
Aloha. Morning. Yes, I'm standing in opposition to this, mostly due to the in-person registration. I do love the extension of the pistol permit to 30 days. I'm sure most, if not all, you know about the murder that took place outside of the Kapolei police station, where a woman was viciously beaten to death, like literally on the front steps. Well, my brother experienced was attacked by a homeless individual at the main police station while he was standing in line with his gun to go register it. Now, I don't know what the man's issue was. I think he might have just been trying to get a warm meal that night, didn't get locked up. But the thing is that nobody in the police station even noticed that the man punched him in the chest. I mean, even my brother was so stunned by this act that the man walked away by the time he realized what happened. Now, if that man had just grabbed my brother's gun case, now that man has an unregistered gun to do with what he pleases. And, you know, that's one issue of firearms being stolen. Because, I mean, if I was looking to start a black market, I would do that. Anybody you see come out with a little case like this, steal it, I'll give you $500 for that. And there's also, like, I will say that it's the registration process as it stands now is much easier, much better. Where, you know, rather than like what I would do, where I get my permit, rush to the police department, rush from the police department to the gun store, and rush back to the police department once I have my gun to go register it, is a pain for me. But now I can be a little bit more leisurely about my time with it. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Ryan Tinajiro. Sorry if I butchered your name. Tinajiro.
Tinajiro, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Senators of the Judiciary Committee, I continue to stand on my opposition to HB 2075 in its current form. Furthermore, I'm not even sure how this measure actually protects public safety. As we have witnessed in the news time and time again with all the crimes going up, you're already aware of the death of a citizen at the hands of a criminal at the Kapolei police station. Asking anyone to bring in a firearm for in-person inspection is a problem because of that failure of public safety right there. As presented in a Hawaii News article on March 10th, this is what they had to say about that investigation. Testimony from a witness concerning suspect Michael Armstrong's preliminary hearing Wednesday revealed that no one from inside the Kapolei police station responded as victim Linda Johnson was being bludgeoned to death on February 15th with a tree stump right outside the steps of that police station. As the victim's brother already stated, this shouldn't have happened. I concur with that statement. This shouldn't have happened, and yet it did. As I witnessed a citizen die at the hands of a criminal right outside the police station, again, asking anyone to bring in firearms for in-person inspections does not constitute public safety. I urge you to, instead of passing a measure as it is written, pass an amendment instead that removes the in-person inspection. That will actually enhance public safety, since people won't have to expose themselves to criminals right outside police stations and risk being put to death by those same criminals. But it also allows citizens to be able to safely retain their firearms. As we look to make the vote on this measure, we ask that you vote, please pass with amendments. For the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Marcus Tanaka. Good morning.
Okay, good morning. So, I was reading some of the testimony, and, one, I support the 30-day window. That's all good to go. but I do not support the bringing the firearm in for registration. You know, the Attorney General's testimony mentions public safety and things like that, but you know, during the court hearing, like Mr. Abbott stated, the state couldn't provide any documentation when asked in court, you know, for proof of that bringing the firearm in person is, you know, helps with public safety. And then besides that, the judge ruled that it's unconstitutional to do so, but yet you have the Attorney General's office writing support testimony for this section. So that kind of makes me wonder if they, you know, are going to listen to what the judge says versus just doing what they want to do. I mean, that kind of ties into the first hearing you guys had with the Shikata, but that's a different issue. But yeah, so to bring it in, like others stated, takes time. People got to take time off from work. You know, I don't catch the bus, but I have friends who do, and you know, to come from Makaha with a firearm in the bus or whatever, how do they catch it down? That's the only option. They're not going to Uber down and spend another $200 on Uber. So to do it online makes things a lot simpler, and they're able to do it easier. And then another issue brought up is the ghost guns. You know, a felon, someone who's not allowed to possess firearms, is it going to register a firearm either in person or online? So, you know, all it is law-abiding citizens who are following the law, and the testimonies does mention, oh, human errors happen. Well, I was at HPD registering a firearm in person with the firearm, and they made an error on my gun, on my registration. So I told the officer at the window, hey, there's an error. I was told, it's okay, don't worry about it. You know, I had to tell them, no, this is serious stuff. I mean, I'm not going to just take your word today that, hey, it's okay, don't worry about it.
Thank you very much. Next we have Paul Ferreira, Police Chief for Hawaii Police Department, and support. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 individuals in opposition. Anyone else here to testify in HB 2075? Okay, seeing none, members, I don't know how you want to do this. We need to go to caucus. Do you want to continue this till tomorrow, or do you have any questions on 2075? Okay, what we'll do is we will do decision making tomorrow at 10:30. Yeah, I know. So okay, so we will recess. Sorry.
That's the only thing on the agenda, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. We can do 10:45. 10:45. Okay, we will recess this hearing then until 10:45 tomorrow in this room and on the conference. And thanks everybody for being here. We are in recess.